Hi, welcome. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy, where we explore and discover all the many ways of keeping you feeling healthy and happy. And remember to watch my Good to Know segment at the end of each show, where as a life coach, I share with you what's good to know. So today we're going to learn some really good safety tips and information about how we can lead good quality lives and yet feel safe. And so today I want you to welcome my guest, Officer Rick Goodale. He's a public information officer with Montgomery County Police. So thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, my pleasure. I feel that there's, so much that, some basic information that's so important to know, and I'm so glad that you can share that with us today. So
well, thanks for having me.
So thank you. So, well, first of all, why is it important to know this safety information?
Well, it's important to know because it affects everybody's quality of life, and that's the biggest thing. We want everybody to be happy and healthy in their daily lives. And there's just some basic steps that the residents of Montgomery County can do to make sure that they live the best lives that they can.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Mm-hmm. And so what would you say is maybe like the number one issue?
Well, the biggest issue that the Montgomery County Police Department faces is the same issue that faces police departments all across the country. And that's people not locking their car doors and leaving valuables in their car and having stuff stolen from their car. And it's the easiest thing to prevent if you just take the extra step to lock your car door. Don't leave anything of value in there that could be an easy target that somebody would want to take. It solves a lot of problems. It takes up a lot of time and a lot of police resources to investigate these theft from autos. For example, this year we've had almost 3,000 reported cases of theft from vehicles just so far year to date.
Wow.
If that trend continues, we're looking at about a 27% increase for the year 2017. So we want to get the message out, lock your car, take your keys with you, don't leave anything of value in the car.
Yeah, and I know you also mentioned about issues with the garage, that people will pull their car into the garage and leave the garage door open.
Right. Typically what we'll see is people pull into the garage. They'll feel that since the car's in the garage, it's safe. A lot of times they may become distracted and forget to hit that garage door opener. But the biggest thing that we see is a lot of people will tend to keep their car keys inside of the garage, not on the inside of the house, but on the outside door of the garage. So if you leave your garage door open all night, a suspect can come to your garage, find your car keys, and we've had multiple cases where homeowners have come out the next morning to go to work and every one of their cars are gone.
Wow. Well, at least that's good to know it's not great, but at least it's good to know that that's not, that car theft or things within the car is an issue. But at least I guess in our area, compared to stats around the country, I believe you mentioned that we don't have the main issue with a lot of homicides or other things like that, right?
Right. Thankfully with Montgomery.
Am I right?
Right. With Montgomery County, we have a population of close to 1 million people. And when you look at our population versus comparable jurisdictions, our violent crime rate is extremely low, which leads to, people can feel safe in Montgomery County.
Yeah.
It's not to say that crime doesn't exist, because it does. But, if people would take just basic steps, prevention steps, it can reduce a lot of the problems that we do have.
Yeah, so that's what I really wanted to bring out, and I'm so glad that you're here today because, thankfully we don't have to worry about a lot of the really high-end dangerous crimes, but there are things that could affect our quality of life and easy things that we can do, and so and just to be aware of. For instance, I know that there's a lot of issues with scams, right?
We'll see other scams that specifically target the elderly, that try to take advantage of older people, which is very sad that people would want to prey on elderly victims. We'll see in times like in the fall when the leaves start falling, people will come and want to clean up property, and they'll charge elderly residents an outrageous amount of money and essentially do no work.
What do they say? So just that people can, be aware of like some of the language, because it sounds like, when you speak about it after the fact, you think like, well, of course I would never fall for that. So what would they say? Like, do you have an example?
Well, a classic example that we see year after year after year, and we try to get the message out when we know it's going to be coming up. In the springtime, people will come to elderly residents' home, and if they have like asphalt driveways, for example, they'll say, we can repave your driveway, a couple $1,000s. And if it's an elderly resident, they don't have the time or energy to do it themselves. So they'll be like, okay, go ahead. So they'll write a check for a couple $1,000s, and these scammers will come back, and what they do is they just pour motor oil on the asphalt. So the victim thinks, oh, okay, well, it's new asphalt, it's going to dry, and it's just motor oil. And they've essentially just paid $2,000 to have motor oil poured on a driveway, and we see it every single year. Wow. And we try to get the message out. When spring comes around, we try to get this message out. This is a season for certain types of scams. Same thing with the IRS. Scamming is one of the bigger problems that we have in Montgomery County as well.
Yeah, and I believe you mentioned that there's, particularly in the Chinese community, that there's a particular scam or different type of scams.
Right. Just recently, this is the first time that we've seen this type of scam. And this was in the past month. Yeah. But we had scammers who were from China, and they were specifically targeting Chinese residents of the county. And what they were doing is they were trying to play on the bond of, hey, we're both from a certain country, we're both out of our element, let's help each other out. And what they were doing is they were trying to essentially sell fake gold to Chinese residents. They were saying, I found this gold, I can't do anything with it, but if you give me money, I'll give it to you, and then you can do whatever you want with it. And we did have some people fall victim to that scam.
Oh, so I'm sure there's so many different types of scams, and there as many as there are people out there. They could think of anything. But so what should people do to prevent being taken? Like, let's say it sounds so enticing or sounds perfect, like, oh, I really need my driveway, resealed, or my roof is leaking. Like, and what could you do to prevent, being taken? It sounds so good. Well, it sounds like a great deal, right?
Right. If you're home and somebody comes to your door unsolicited, wanting to offer you services, you don't have to accept those services right away. You can take your time, do some investigative work. A lot of times, just quick Google searches can help you determine if something is a scam or not. Like, we've had a lot of potential victims who have received calls about scams, and all they did is just a 5-second Google search and, like an IRS scam. And the facts of whatever phone call they got is laid out right there, and they know right then it's a scam. So a lot of times we'll just say, take a few minutes, do a quick Google search of a particular company, a name, anybody that may come to your door. It could save you a lot of heartache down the road. But if you do feel like you want to partake in these services, make sure that these people are licensed and bonded and allowed to work in Montgomery County. And a lot of times, if you want to see some identification, some verifications of licenses, if they balk at it or have an issue showing you, that should be a huge red flag that you may not want to do business with this person. When it comes to telephone scams, a lot of people don't realize, but government agencies are not going to call you and ask for you to send them money over the phone. We just don't operate like that. Montgomery County doesn't operate like that. The federal government doesn't operate that. That's not how it works. If you get a phone call from anybody representing themselves from a government agency and they ask for money, that should be the huge first red flag that goes off, because that's not how any government agency operates. And what I always tell people is, if something doesn't seem right, trust your instinct, because you're probably going to be correct.
Yeah, that's probably really good words to live by, trust your instinct. But sometimes it sounds so enticing. Like, for instance, after there was like a big snowfall one year, I know that there were people that were taking down trees or they're doing something, and people come and they say, well, we're working in the neighborhood, and since we're here already, instead of it being, let's say, X amount of money, we'll just, charge you like half of it. Since we're here anyway, we have our equipment here, the people here, but you'd have to do it right then and there, so you don't really have time to really investigate, and they may not have a company, they may just be individuals. So yeah, right.
And that's another thing that's an indicator of a possible scam. If they're using that pressure tactic to try to say, you have to do this right now, this is only good for today, it's a special deal. Again, those should be huge red flags that go off. There's nothing wrong with taking some time to investigate the business of the person a little further. And if that person is legitimate and they really want to further their business and make some money, they'll certainly understand.
Yeah. I always tell my kids, and there's no free lunch out there. Mm-hmm. If you want something done properly, if it's too cheap or if it just seems not right, then go with your gut.
It's the old saying: if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But sometimes, it's just human nature that we're like, oh, we want a good deal, or we needed to have it done, and it's right there, it's convenient, and unfortunate.
Well, that's one of the things that we see with elderly victims. Why we believe some of the scammers target them, because with the elderly victims, they grew up in a generation where you could leave your windows open at night, you could leave your doors unlocked, and people trusted everybody. So they have that built-in trust nature that they don't think anybody's out to do them any harm. Yeah. And unfortunately, people take advantage of that. And in today's society, you can't do that anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's I've heard that, especially with the elderly, that they get taken a lot, because they're not able to really go out there. They may not have use of the internet so well to really research. So yeah. So one of the other, I know Montgomery County, we really promote walking and exercising and bicycling and really being out there. So I know, you have to be a little careful being pedestrians and, jogging and doing all that as, we're in the flow of traffic as well. So any tips that you can give us for that?
Well, Montgomery County is blessed that we have some great parkland, we have some great trails. People can get out and walk around. And again, it goes back to people feel safe in Montgomery County, that they can go out and walk around. But we do see a lot of people walking around with their heads down, looking at their phones. They may have earphones in, listen to music. And one of the issues that we deal with a lot is people getting struck by cars, pedestrians getting struck by cars, bicyclists getting struck by cars.
That's amazing. I was just actually in another city, and I saw somebody was skateboarding across an intersection, checking their cell phone. Mm-hmm. Like, they weren't even looking around; they were looking at their cell phone. That was just amazing to me that somebody would do that. But I know there's so many, more tips and information about that, and about what we can do to be safe as pedestrians and being out there. We're just going to take a short, quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about so many of the other things that we can discuss. So thank you so much, Officer Goodale, and so we're going to just take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Time to wake up. I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Don't forget, you've got a job to do today.
Hey, Mom. I got the job. Thanks.
Got the job. Welcome aboard.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
Welcome back. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy, and we're going to continue learning about safety tips with Officer Rick Goodale. So thanks again for speaking with us. And we're going to just continue a little bit more about pedestrian safety, because we really are, I think, a county that really spends a lot of time outdoors exercising and just bicycling.
Yeah, especially during the summertime. People getting struck by cars and bicyclists getting struck by cars is a huge problem for us. And a lot of times we find that pedestrians don't necessarily know the law, and drivers don't necessarily know the law when it comes to pedestrians. Sometimes we run into where pedestrians think that if there's a marked crosswalk, that they can just walk out of that crosswalk and that automatically gives them the right of way.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it doesn't. And just because you're in that marked crosswalk, that paint is not going to protect you from a 3,000-pound car going 30 miles an hour. And a lot of times people don't understand that. And we'll see people walking that crosswalk with their head down, looking at their phone, and they don't see the car coming.
It's crazy. It really is. But that we just assume that they're going to stop.
Right.
And sometimes, they could be texting. You don't know. I mean, they're not supposed to be, but they may not see you.
Right. There's a lot of assumptions that go on between a pedestrian and the driver of a car. The pedestrian assumes that the driver of that car sees them. Well, that driver may be texting on his phone and doesn't see the pedestrian. And the driver may think that the pedestrian sees him, where that pedestrian may be listening to music and have his head down and not see him. Yeah. So people make a lot of assumptions that sometimes can have deadly consequences.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's good information. So let's go on to personal safety. What are some things that we should know about that, and maybe some examples of what you've experienced?
Well, another issue that we have in Montgomery County is we have a problem with residential homes getting broken into. Right now, we've had about 800 reports of residential burglaries committed in the county. But the good side of that is if that number continues, it'll actually be an 18% decrease from 2016.
Oh,
so we're hoping
good news.
Right. So we're hoping that some of the prevention pieces and some of the messages that we're getting out in all of our district stations is having some type of effect. So if these numbers hold true, we will see a decrease in residential burglaries.
But why do you think that is?
Well, we're hoping it's getting the message out and getting some of these prevention tips out. Again, residential burglary is one of those crimes that, if you just take a little bit of extra time and step, you can protect yourself and your home from getting broken into. One thing that the Montgomery County Police Officer offers is a resident can call their local district station and request an officer to come out to their home, and the officer will do what's called a home security survey. We have a form that we have that we can fill out. We check off boxes. We look at every aspect of the home, from exterior lighting, shrubbery around windows that could conceal somebody trying to break in. We recommend security features, door locks. It's a pretty extensive survey, and that's free of charge for residents.
So, and I know that one of the things that you mentioned was, especially around the holidays or when people get gifts or birthdays, that they get large boxes and they just leave it in their driveway, right? Right. For the garbage.
Right. You can drive down any residential street around after the holidays, and you can see, oh, they just got a big plasma TV. Oh, they just got a new computer system. Oh, they just got this or that. And criminals do the exact same thing. They're looking for something that, may be of high value. And if somebody puts that box out there, they're going to know exactly where it is and where to go. And they'll just, take their opportunity to go get it.
It's like window shopping for
Exactly.
them.
Exactly.
They're just like driving down the street and saying, okay, I'll hit this one first and then that one next.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, if people just take the extra step, maybe break that box down a little bit, cut it up a little bit so it doesn't say 70-inch TV on it, it could save you some problems.
Yeah. So as far as for us individuals, what do you recommend that we do? For instance, for a man, I know sometimes I see men walking around with behind their, in their back pocket, they carry their wallet, and it just, sometimes it's even sticking up. It just, I imagine that's something to be aware of, right?
Well, for both men and women, the best thing that we recommend is you have got to be aware of your surroundings. Know where you are at all times. Keep your head up, look around, and know what's going on around you. Suspects look for easy victims. They look for somebody who may not be able to identify them. They look for somebody, who appears timid. If you walk with a sense of confidence and you have your head up and you look around and you know what's going on, there's a good chance that you're not going to be a victim of a crime. When it comes to men, a lot of times, men keep their wallets in their back pocket, and it could lend themselves to be an easy target for a pickpocket. With the wallet back there, sometimes you don't feel things going on, and somebody could walk by and take your wallet. If it's possible and feasible, I recommend, and the police recommend, putting the wallet in your front pocket. That way you can feel it and you know where it is, and it's a lot more difficult for somebody trying to steal it.
And probably not taking like your whole life savings and putting it in that wallet and every credit card, I imagine. Just take what you need.
Right, right. And according to my chiropractor, it's better for your back.
Yeah. And okay, so for women, what tips do you have?
A lot of times we see women are victims of purse snatching, or they have their wallets taken from their purse. And what we recommend is, if you're walking, keep your purse over your shoulder and keep your hands on it at all times. A lot of times women will walk and hold their purse down at their side. And if somebody runs up behind you and grabs that purse, you're just not going to have the grip strength to hold on to it. And it's going to be ripped out of your hands really easily. So if you have it over your shoulder,
that's interesting,
and you hold on to it with both hands, somebody's going to look at that and be like, I don't know if I want to try that, because that's going to be a little harder to try and get that purse. Another thing that we recommend for women is when you go into restaurants, instead of hanging your purse over the back of the seat where you can't necessarily see it all the time, put your purse between your feet right at the base of the table. You can close your feet around it. You know where it is. You can feel it. And it prevents having your wallet stolen out of your purse. If you have your purse hanging over the back of your chair, somebody in the table sitting next to you can just kind of reach behind it and pull your wallet out, and you don't know it's gone until you go to pay for the check.
And you may not even realize your purse is gone.
Right.
Because, especially in a crowded place, I could just see very easily being lifted off the back of the chair.
Right. And when it comes to shopping, we'll see a lot of times, women will put their purse in the shopping cart, and they'll go grab the groceries and leave the purse wide open, and they'll have the back to the cart and the purse, and somebody can just walk by. And a lot of times they don't take the purse because that's too obvious. They'll maybe take a wallet or something that they can see easily, and then when you come back, your purse is still there, and you just go about your business. And a lot of times the victims don't realize something's been taken until they go up to that cash register to pay and be like, my wallet's gone.
And they may even assume that they left it at home.
Exactly,
and
exactly.
not realize that it was actually stolen. Yeah. You had mentioned that there's a whole science of, is it victimology or?
Right. There is a study of victims and crimes and victimology, and it's all about like what criminals look for in victims, certain behaviors of victims. And again, if people can just take extra steps to protect themselves by knowing where they are at all times, especially if something happens in an emergency, one of the things that we see that delays a police response is people will call us on a cell phone and they have no idea where they are. In previous days, when people use landlines more, a physical address would come up on the phone and say, okay, this person's calling from this residence, and we would know where to go if they didn't know where they were. With cell phones, we haven't quite gotten there with that technology yet. And a lot of times people don't know where they are and can't relay that information to us, and it delays a police response, sometimes in critical situations.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I know you also said to make sure you have good eye contact, and when you're walking confidently. Those are all really good.
Right. Studies have shown that if you walk with your head up, look around, make eye contact with people, you project that air of confidence, and it makes you a less desirable target.
Wow. Well, you've given such great information, and I'm sure there's so much more, but I thank you so much. And so we're just going to wrap up. And so if somebody wanted to reach you or to find out more information, do you have a website that you can give out?
Well, people can follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and both of our handles at Facebook and Twitter is at MCP News. Mm-hmm. If people want to follow our press releases, we issue press releases on crimes where we're asking the public's help to identify suspects. Our website is mymcpnews.com.
Okay.
So they can follow us there.
That's wonderful. What's the number one pearl of wisdom that you could, give us?
I've got 23 years with Montgomery County, and this is a great place to live. It's a great community, great people, and like I said, we have almost 1 million residents, and we don't have nearly the type of violent crime that other jurisdictions have. So my pearl of wisdom would be, whatever we're doing here, we're doing right. We're doing a good job here, both as the police and the community, and we have a great working relationship with the community, and this is just a great place to live.
Yeah, it is a great place to live, and I I really feel that you and your fellow officers really help make it a great place for us to live, keeping us safe and getting the information out there that we need to have, and just making it a wonderful environment for us and interact with us on a regular basis. So I thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Officer Goodale, it was really good to get to know you and to get the good information. I think that you gave a lot of great information for our audience, and so I thank you very much, very much. So we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we're going to have my segment of What's Good to Know.
No more pencils, no more books.
No more teachers' dirty looks.
School's out for summer.
School's out forever.
School out with fever.
School's out completely.
What this place needed was better graduation rates. So we worked with schools like Henry Ford High, and now they're up 18%. And it can happen in every place.
School's out for summer.
To help us do more good this year, go to unitedway.org, because great things happen when we live united.
Hi, welcome. I'm Nira Berry, life and happiness coach and your host of Happy and Healthy. And now it's time for What's Good to Know. And what's really good to know is the sense of community and unity. And that's what I'm going to speak to you about, because really all that is an essential part of wellness. And connecting with friends and relatives and neighbors is really the foundation of having, and ultimately of having, a happy life. And nowadays it seems like there's a lot of divisiveness around us. There's between neighbors and friends and relatives. And there's a slogan that says, we're better together, united, than divided. And so when we focus on what divides us, on what makes us different, then we're really adding a lot of negativity to our lives. And so I always say to focus on the positives and what brings us together as part of a community, because we're stronger together and it gives us a greater sense of belonging. And so some tips about feeling that sense of community may be that maybe get involved with your community. I'm sure you've got some skills and talents that you can offer. Maybe volunteer in your community. And how about even organizing a little street party? Maybe do a potluck dinner. But invite people that you may not normally interact with. Maybe people that are older or younger, or maybe from different cultures. Because when you do that, you'll ultimately have a more rich, diverse life and community of friends, and feel like really, really wonderful that you belong in the greater world together. And so I offer you to try that and to really be connected with your friends and neighbors. And then you might notice that you actually will feel happier as a result of that. So give it a try and let me know. I'm the Happiness Coach. You can reach me at happyandhealthytv@gmail.com. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy. Thank you for watching and have a happy day.